If you've ever felt both capable and strangely scattered at the same time, this episode is for you. What if the problem isn't that you don't know what you want, but you're trying to want too many things at once? Because this season and midlife isn't about needing more motivation, it's about needing fewer priorities. And today, I want to offer you up a second opinion on goal setting. By the end of this episode, I want you to feel calmer, clear, and confident enough to start without feeling the need to fix your whole life. One goal, one direction, one North Star. We are almost into the second week of 2026. How'd that happen? I hope this is not an indication of how quickly 2025 went. I digress. Let me ask you, how are you actually feeling? Me personally, I'm recording this episode on a Monday morning in New York City after being on call at the hospital all weekend. It rained on Saturday, and instead of planning or mapping out the year, I cleaned. I cleaned the closets, drawers, corners I've been meaning to get to for a while now. I changed my HVAC filter on New Year's Eve. Fun stuff. Not very glamorous. But can I tell you how deeply satisfying it felt to get up there in that grill and just to put in my new filter? And somewhere between decluttering and quiet, I had this moment of clarity. Not so much inspiration, but good old school clarity. Because clarity doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from making space. And I realized something I see all the time in healthcare and journalism and in many midlife conversations amongst friends. A lot of us aren't confused. We're just overloaded. Can you agree with that? Do you feel me? Here's the quiet problem. Or let's say situation most smart, capable midlifers are dealing with. We're holding on to too many goals at the same time. Do you feel that way? We're juggling a lot of things. Health, career, money, relationships, reinvention, that whole kind of those pillars of life, right? Those big areas that we hit. And instead of choosing a direction, we try to improve everything all at once. Instead of focusing on just our health, one thing, we're trying to hit every little thing. At least we're juggling probably more than one thing in all of those categories because it feels ambitious. It feels like we're doing things. But the truth is it creates friction, maybe even some overwhelm because energies are competing with each other. There is a reason research shows that up to 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by February. Right there is what I just showed you. Trying to do too much. And it's not because people are lazy, not because they lack discipline, but because most goals are built on willpower, emotion, excitement, nothing that's actually sustainable over long periods of time. And willpower really doesn't survive real life all the time. Can we agree on that? I mean, the bottom line is no matter how disciplined we are, willpower, it fails us. It happens to the best of us, especially not midlife, real life. So here's the reframe I want to offer you today. People don't fail because they pick the wrong goal. You pick something, you're like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. That's not true. People fail because they never build a system and then the identity that can hold that goal when real life shows up. Midlife does not need more intensity. We are intense. Chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, you are somebody who is into self development, you are self motivated, and you are on some level intense. Life and midlife, it needs simplicity. And I realized that a couple of years ago. And think about it. When things are simple and streamlined, they're just much more attainable to stick to. I don't do well when there's too much restrictiveness, rigidness. Because of my work schedule, I need flexibility. because that is the reality of my life. I don't really run on the same day to day schedule. And when things get a little too complicated, because my work's complicated, I'm out, right? When grids and graphs and all kinds of charting and apps required to upload and do all these things. Now, all these things are great. This just doesn't personally work for me. And a lot of times in midlife, direction matters more than speed. Okay. So I digress there a little bit, but the bottom line is direction matters more than speed. And that is where the North Star comes in. Goals and desires may feel abstract sometimes. So we have these things out in the ether that we want to obtain. Whereas a North Star feels more directional for me personally. I like to follow the sun type of energy. I'm going to use North Star terminology, right? Because even when you look out, you look at the moon, right? You look at the star, you see the North Star, or the sun, you follow that element. It doesn't follow you, you follow the path to your North Star. It's very simple. It doesn't move. You are the moving part here. It doesn't tell you how fast to go. It just makes sure you see its path, and that you're not walking in circles. Your North Star is one goal that if you made progress on it, you would quietly improve everything else. And this doesn't mean forever. You're not locking yourself in. This is just for this season, right? You're just reorienting yourself because the bottom line is this. You can't aim if you don't know where you're going. You're aimless. Think about it. Just in any direction, whether you're going on a road trip, right? You have a destination, you follow a map to get there. Goals are the same way. And that's why I really like the analogy of a North Star as opposed to uh maybe goal. Goal is a great word, but for me, it doesn't feel very feminine for me personally. I like a little fluidity. I'm just going to go with this for now. This is how I feel today on this Monday, and I'm going to go with it. So the first step is choosing one meaningful goal. Not what sounds impressive, not what you think you should want, but the one that touches the most areas of your life. So think about it. I'm going to give you an example for me. So for me, that area is health. And why is that? Well, okay, first let me be clear. This is not in a vague way, but in a long game, longevity focused way, because for me, the body is the vehicle for everything else that I want to build. I like to think about health span, not just how long I live, but the quality of the years that I have ahead of me. For me personally, when I prioritize my health, my energy becomes more reliable, my thinking gets clearer, my stress becomes more manageable, my recovery improves. And when my health is supported, everything else has a stronger foundation: my work, my creativity, my relationships, my future. One direction with many byproducts. Do you follow me? I also notice after you focus for, say, a couple weeks and you really get into the groove, when you feel good, you naturally, I don't think you're looking for outside validation for things. I don't think you're spending as frivolously. You're not as impulsive. You want to be more social. That's my example of when you just pick one thing. So you can't do this wrong. And you'll see that the second step are systems. Now, systems are really decisions that you don't have to keep making. A system is like meal planning. I also have a friend. I consider him to be a very successful person. He lives a life that many people would love to live. Maybe he's listening. He lives in, you know what? He does listen. So John, if you're out there, I remember you telling me he actually went out and bought like all black shirts and all khaki pants because he didn't want to have to make, or shorts. He didn't want to have to make a decision what he was wearing. He wore the same thing. And a lot of very, very influential people actually do that. And very healthy people I know eat the same breakfast every day, they without thinking. They live on what they know works for them. It's like one more decision that you don't have to make, whether it's putting your gym clothes in your bag the night before. I get my bag ready the night before, so my mornings are very calm. They're very focused, and I get everything done in my personal time before I get out the door and head to work. So that's what I mean about systems. Some people feel like they're a little rigid, but in actuality, they give you freedom. Even with my podcast, it's the same recording window, the same movement baseline, the same morning rhythm, right? Systems save time, energy, money, and stress. All around, it's all energy, any way you look at it. Motivation is unreliable. This is why statistically, New Year's resolutions fall off by February. Heck, we're only into the second week. A lot of us are just getting clarity on what we want to do with our year. And those people who started the ground running January 1st, chances are they are already fallen off track. And systems are also kind. They're kind. They're working for you. And the third step is identity. And this is where most people get stuck. Instead of asking, how do I force myself into this? How do I talk myself into this? Ask, who am I being if I keep showing up? Even if you show up imperfectly for this goal, identity drives behavior. We can argue if it goes the other way, if it goes back and forth, but for the most part, identity drives behavior. You see yourself as what? Okay. And here's the thing, once upon a time, I had routines that worked. Even with a very predictable nomadic life, I had systems. No matter which shift I was covering at the hospital, if I was working nights or if I was working days, I was very, very clear when I was working out, when I was working on my North Star, because I've always had one big goal. I started doing that many years ago. I've always had very clear ways of eating and so forth. But here's the thing, suddenly things changed for me. I changed my status at work. I decided to buy a home, live in one place. And then with that came some new responsibilities. And the systems that got me up until 2025 are not going to be the same systems that take me forward. I already know this because was feeling this in mid 2025. So where my home really came my center of a lot of things for me, my health started to fall by the wayside. That's why I knew I had to really regroup and to really focus on my health systems. I'm really feeling that for this year. And fortunately, this wasn't failure just because this did not work my way, because I did do things in 2025 that are setting me up for 2026. I didn't have all my systems in place. I did have some systems in place. A lot of this is feedback. And I want you to hear this clearly today, that you're not behind. So you might take some things from 2025 or not. You might leave some of that behind. I know I'm some things that worked, but some of the things that require discipline and regrouping for me, I'm changing. So for you, you're just recalibrating, right? And after years working in healthcare and journalism, here's what I've seen again and again. Behavior doesn't change because people know more. We have loads of content coming to us 24/7. It's about context, how we're really applying all of this input and information. Behavior changes when life gets clear and simple. Organized systems, right? Small, repeatable habits compound faster with interest than these big emotional promises and declarations. So, the myth to let go of is that you just need more motivation, right? The truth, you need fewer priorities and better systems. And also, I wanted to revisit the word priorities because something felt off about that word, priorities. And I'm going to really quickly here, hopefully my internet doesn't fail me here. Let me see. Priority definition. Priority. The fact or condition of being regarded or treated as more important. We can pretty much agree with that. What is the correct meaning of priority? The internet asks. Something that is more important or urgent than other things, deserving attention or action before others, or the state of coming before something else in time, order, or rank. Okay, we got that. We have one priority, one North Star, one goal, one desire. And then you have different levels of priority. Does that make sense? We have first priority, that's my second priority, third priority, last priority, not priorities. See where I'm going with this? Instead of looking at everything as all encompassing important, we have one priority for the year. And then we have these sub priorities, each priority that falls under that. And then the different level of urgency that they all, because a lot of times we get caught up in the minutia of all these things that we say are priorities, but really the level of urgency is not as significant. I throw that in there because I heard somebody else say that. And I thought that is actually really helps with overwhelm. So I thought maybe that would help you too. Moving on, I digress. Where am I? Let me get my train of thought here. Before you add anything new this year, just take a little bit of a breath, pause, ask yourself some questions. What's the one direction that would make my life feel calmer, not busier? And what system could support me on my hardest days? Not your best days, your hardest days. That is your North Star for the year. I'm going to leave you. The point was to keep this simple and digestible, not to fill your life with more stuff. I know for me, I've been getting bombarded with a lot of New Year's, new you, do this, don't do this, eliminate this. And I just want to keep it simple because I could go on and on and on with all the questions. And you should see my notes that I put together for this podcast. There is a lot, but I tried to simplify it as much as possible to leave you with something useful and not just more overwhelmed. All right. Well, as always, age is your advantage here. It's never a disadvantage. You know what doesn't work. You recover faster from bad ideas. If this episode grounded you, liking and following the show genuinely helps. The show's going to move up in ranking, which then creates more momentum, and it allows me to bring you conversations that are useful. That's part of my growth and part of my expansion. Next week, we're going to be joined by Saran Akrawi for a conversation on career reset. And if you're thinking, I'm very happy, I'm not really focused with career. This also has to do with purpose. It's really a good episode if you've been quietly asking yourself, is this it? Tune in next week. And most importantly, I don't think I've ever shared this, but this show is entirely written, produced, and created by me, Rosemarie Beltz from New York City. And this is your second opinion, where age is always your advantage. Until next time.